Now scratch out everything I have just talked about, and let's focus on the new application on the Apple iPhone called the sound grenade. Okay, before you think I've just forced you into one very strange non sequitur, or what I like to call a hypertext parenthetical, it may well be that the real difficulty in studying consciousness can be easily demonstrated without any words whatsoever. My 10-year-old son Sean downloaded this application, which plays, I am told, one very annoying high-pitched sound, which can be quite irritating. Some commentators have even mentioned getting sick to their stomachs after hearing it. Well, Sean likes to randomly explode his sound grenade while eating dinner or watching television, to both surprise and annoy his younger brother Kelly and his mother Andrea. However, it never works on me. Why? I cannot hear it. In fact, I hear absolutely nothing when he turns it on. At first, I thought my family was in on some secret joke, since I didn't believe that the application was really emitting a sound. Later, when I was convinced that they were not lying, I was a bit wonderstruck. Why do I hear absolutely nothing? The other day, I thought I would test the application on my religion and science students at California State University, Long Beach. Everyone heard it except me and one other student, who was also perplexed to be the only one of his colleagues not to hear it. Why do I bring up this apparently silly example? Because I think it strikes at the very heart of the inherent difficulties in consciousness studies. For instance, how can one properly study the physics of the sound grenade application on the Apple iPhone if the one studying it cannot hear what everyone else is hearing? Correlatively, how can one study higher states of consciousness if one has never experienced them? I understand that it might be theoretically possible to do so, but isn't something fundamentally lost by trying to apprehend a given phenomenon by way of a surrogate versus one's own immersion? Do we really think that someone who is not conscious can truly understand one who is? Now, ironically, the sound grenade analogy doesn't mean by way of extension that higher forms of awareness are metaphysical. The iPhone application uses real sound waves, not astrally generated ones. But only that the spectrum of variances may exist that shouldn't ad hoc be collapsed to one another. If we prematurely do so, we end up with what Daniel Dennett rightly called cheap reductionism. It may look valuable, but on closer inspection it offers us nothing useful in exchange. To say my consciousness is merely the result of a bundle of neurons is neither enlightening nor useful. What we really want to know is how such a tiny set of physical on and off points could produce self-reflective awareness. This is a technical problem, not a philosophical one. Yet on the other hand, the conviction of my own experiences, or lack thereof, is not an indication of its causation. Rather, we have an almost innate predisposition to confuse our own transferences and projections for objective realities or truth, neglecting in the process just how such numerous illuminations arise in the first place. Thus, the problem with mysticism isn't the lack of subjective experiences of extraordinary realms, but the inability, while in such exalted states, to recognize the humble and ordinary bases for their generation. This confusion of a neural system about its own interpretation of reality can be quite startling. Of course, the problem for the scientist may be exactly the opposite: the inability, while working in an ordinary state of awareness, to recognize the superluminal bases for its very existence. What kinds of evidence can a mystic proffer that would convince neuroscientists that their very paradigm may need to be transcended? Perhaps the evidence we seek is by its nature transcendent, and not subject to empirical test claims. If so, then we are truly not in a Newtonian or Einsteinian world anymore, and we should straight up admit to it. That is, if mysticism is indeed a transpersonal science, then it may just have to go it alone and forget convincing us flatlanders otherwise. I say this because if consciousness is indeed multidimensional in an ontological sense, then it will not be possible to reduce one state to another without concealing its most important features. If this is indeed the case, as some mystics have argued, then we may be confronting the limits of what has been tantalizingly termed the Chandin effect. It was so named because Fakir Chand was the first Sakmat guru to speak at length about the unknowing aspects of visionary manifestations. In this context, the Chandin effect designates two major factors in transpersonal encounters: the overwhelming experience of certainty and the subjective projection of sacred forms, figures, scenes by the meditator without the conscious knowledge of the object and person that is beheld at the center of the experience. The Chandin effect in the realm of mystical experiences is weakly analogous to Heisenberg's principle of uncertainty in subatomic physics. The more certain or real the mystical encounter seems, the less likely one is to believe that such is the product of subjective projection or transference. This invariably causes deep epistemological consternation, since what makes us certain that something is indeed real is the result of our own deeply felt subjectivity, even if dressed up in objectivist language. Perhaps the study of consciousness can benefit by listening more carefully to that ancient quip about spirit and matter. The more I study the mystical, the more physical it becomes. And the more I study the physical, the more mystical it turns out. The following film, which I made on Fakir Chand, underlines that very point and reminds us again of the very wonder that is inherent in our existence.
In 1919, I was posted in Iraq. The Aboriginal inhabitants, known as Badus, revolted, which led to a fierce battle. I was inspector in the Department of Telegraphy and the Railways with my headquarters at Divinia. The rebels made a heavy attack on the Ahmadiyya railway station, killing the entire staff and setting the building on fire. Military forces from my post were rushed to Ahmadiyya. I was also ordered to take charge of the Ahmadiyya railway station as station master. Our soldiers laid down wires and trenches and occupied their positions. Fierce fighting continued, and there was a heavy loss of life on both sides. At Ahmadiyya, we were left with a group of 35 soldiers and one Subedar major. The rest of the army was sent to Divinia to retaliate any attack there. With the fall of the night, the rebels attacked us. Our soldiers, though less in number, fought back. One of our men was wounded, while casualties on the opposition were very heavy. As the firing ceased for some time, the Subedar major came to me and asked that I convey to our headquarters at Divinia that we were short of ammunition, and if we had to face another such attack, our supplies would not last for more than an hour. If the ammunition supply failed to reach us before dawn, none of us would be alive. I wired the message to the headquarters accordingly. The situation was tense and everybody was feeling as if the end had come. I too was shaken with the fear of death. In this very moment of fear, the holy form of Hazur Data Dayalji appeared before me and said, "Fakir, worry not. The enemy has not come to attack but to take away their dead. Let them do that. Don't waste your ammunition." I sent for the Subedar Major and told him about the appearance of my guru and his directions concerning the enemy. The Subedar Major followed the directions of my guru. The rebel Jawans came and carried away their dead without attacking our positions. By 6 o'clock in the morning, our airplanes came and they dropped the necessary supplies. Our fears vanished. We gained courage. We were safe. After about 3 months, the fighting came to an end, and the Jawans retired to their barracks. I returned to Baghdad, where there were many satsangis. When they learned of my arrival, they all came together to see me. They made me sit on a raised platform, offered flowers, and worshipped me. It was all very unexpected, and a surprising scene for me. I asked them, "Our Guru Maharaj is at Lahore. I am not your Guru. Why do you worship me?" They replied in unison, "On the battlefield we were in danger. Death lurked over our heads. You appeared before us in those moments of danger and gave us direction for our safety. We followed your instructions and thus were saved." I was wonderstruck by this surprising explanation of theirs. I had no knowledge of their trouble. I, myself, being in danger during those days of combat, had not even remembered them. This incident caused me to question within myself, who appeared to them? Was it Fakir Chand? My faith was strengthened and I concluded, whosoever remembers God in whatever form, in that very form he helped his devotee. So what I have understood about Nam is that it is the true knowledge of the feelings, visions, and images that are seen within. This knowledge is that all the creations of the waking, dreaming, and deep sleep modes of consciousness are nothing but samskaras, impressions which are in truth unreal. They are produced by the mind. What to speak about others? Even I am not aware of my own self in dreams. Who knows what may happen to me at the time of death? I may enter the state of unconsciousness, enter the state of dreams, and see railway trains. How can I make a claim about my attainment of the ultimate? The truth is that I know nothing.